A volcano has erupted in southwestern Iceland for the second time in less than a month, sending molten rock spewing toward a nearby fishing town. Iceland's meteorological office says the eruption began just before 8 a.m. Sunday, after a swarm of earthquakes rattled the town of Grindavik. Defensive walls had been placed around the volcano in hopes of directing the lava away from the community, but barriers north of Grindavik have breached and some homes have already caught fire.
Unfortunately, this is not a movie but real life. Volcanic eruptions may not frequently cross our minds, but the effects are far-reaching and profound. Traditionally, when we think of volcanic eruptions, we envision dramatic explosions, plumes of ash, and rivers of molten lava. But the impact goes beyond these spectacular displays of nature's power. Take, for instance, this recent volcanic activity on the Reykjanes Peninsula in Iceland. It wasn't just a sight to behold, it led to tangible disruptions and consequences. Lava flowed like rivers, leading to evacuations in the nearby town of Grindavik. Families had to leave their homes, not knowing when they could return safely. Simultaneously, the town experienced blackouts, turning day into night, and adding another layer of uncertainty to an already tense situation. The impact of volcanic eruptions isn't just local. They have global implications. You also could be impacted. How eruptions can release enormous amounts of ash and gases into the atmosphere, which can affect weather patterns and climate. They can even cause the ground to uplift, changing the very shape of our landscapes and cause a volcanic winter, reducing Earth's overall temperature. The effects of these eruptions can be long-lasting and unpredictable, so it's clear that volcanic eruptions can have significant and diverse impacts on our environment and our lives. But here's a thought. What if we could mitigate these impacts? What if we could use our scientific understanding and technological prowess to lessen the effects of these natural disasters? Or should we not interfere with nature? Geoengineering? The deliberate interference with the climate on a planetary scale offers a new perspective on volcanic eruptions. This might sound like something out of a science fiction novel, but it's a real field of study that's gaining traction as we grapple with the realities of climate change and other environmental challenges. But could this be the solution? Let's break it down a bit. Geoengineering is a term that encompasses a variety of techniques and strategies, all with the same goal: to intentionally alter Earth's climate system. It's like giving the planet a bit of a tune-up, if you will. Could this have prevented the volcano in Iceland's Reykjanes Peninsula? We'll dive more into that a little further in the video. One of the ways researchers are looking at doing this is by using a specific type of gas, known as an HFC gas, to combat the climate effects of volcanic eruptions. Now, you might be asking, how does that work? Well, the idea is to shoot these gases into the atmosphere, where they can help counteract the perpetual winters that large volcanic eruptions can cause. This HFC gas doesn't harm the ozone layer, it just lingers around in the atmosphere for a few years, much like the sulfur that volcanoes naturally release. This isn't just about making winters less chilly, though. These volcanic winters can have serious impacts on our climate, leading to crop failures, famine, and other social and economic disruption. By using geoengineering techniques, we might be able to mitigate some of these effects, helping to keep our climate more stable and predictable. However, this approach is not without its challenges. Like any new technology or strategy, there are potential downsides and unknowns. For instance, using HFC gas on a large scale would be expensive and would require expanded industrial production capacity. While geoengineering has some climate balancing possibilities, it also presents various practical, financial, scientific, philosophical, and ethical issues. Digging deep into the complexities of geoengineering is like trying to solve a multi-dimensional puzzle. It's not just about figuring out the scientific and technical aspects, it's also about grappling with the practicalities, the finances, and the ethics or health issues involved. Let's start with the practical issues. In the context of counteracting the climate effects of giant volcanic eruptions, geoengineering would require us to shoot large quantities of a specific greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. This is no small task. Then there's the financial aspect. The production and dissemination of these gases would be costly. It's not just about the cost of the gases themselves, but also the infrastructure required for their production and release. We're talking about a significant investment, which raises questions about who would foot the bill: taxpayers? Or would it be a global effort funded by all nations? Or would it fall on the shoulders of those most affected by the volcanic eruptions? There is still the issue of health. It may contribute to respiratory disease from smog and air pollution among the unknown potential effects. Scientifically, there's still much we don't know. While this specific greenhouse gas might not harm the ozone, we also need to understand its potential long-term effects on the environment and on human health. Could there be unforeseen consequences that we might only discover years down the line? Let's take a closer look at how geoengineering could have potentially impacted the recent volcanic eruption in Iceland. The eruption in Iceland's Reykjanes Peninsula that began on January 14th caused lava flows that led to evacuations and blackouts in the nearby town of Grindavik. Quite a dramatic scene, wasn't it? Imagine if we could have mitigated the impacts of that eruption. That's where geoengineering comes into play. Geoengineering is the deliberate large-scale intervention in the Earth's natural systems to counteract climate change and, in our case, volcanic activities. Experts have proposed various geoengineering techniques, one of which includes the creation of earthen dams and berms. These structures can be used to divert lava flows away from populated areas. In the case of the Iceland eruption, efforts were indeed made to construct such barriers. However, we must remember that geoengineering isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. The effectiveness of these techniques can vary, depending on numerous factors such as the size and type of the volcano, the rate of lava production, and the local topography. It's also important to note that while geoengineering can help mitigate the physical impacts of an eruption, it doesn't necessarily address the other consequences. For instance, large volcanic eruptions can cause significant changes in sunlight, which can have profound effects on local ecosystems. By intervening on a large scale, we could potentially protect communities like Grindavik from the devastating impacts of future eruptions. Imagine a world where we can lessen the effects of a volcanic winter, or even halt the advance of a lava flow, saving towns and ecosystems from destruction. This is not a scene from a science fiction movie, but a potential reality with geoengineering. But the journey to this future is not without its hurdles. The practicalities of implementing such large-scale interventions are complex. However, as the recent eruption in Iceland's Reykjanes Peninsula has shown, the stakes are high. The safety of entire communities and the health of our ecosystems may depend on our ability to wield these tools effectively. The future of geoengineering calls for greater research, open discussions, and a willingness to explore new territories. It's not just about scientists and engineers, it's about each one of us participating in the conversation, understanding the possibilities and the risks, and making informed decisions.
It's tough in many ways, but I am optimistic by nature, and I try to maintain optimistic. But this is big, this is serious. It's basically as bad as it can possibly get.